All right, Manitoba, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I apologize if you were just watching the stream like 5 minutes ago. I lost it. It completely went. My computer just shut down on me. So, once again, it holds true. I have technical issues. Like I said last show, I was supposed to have the internet guy come on Monday, and I missed the appointment, and I haven't been able to get a hold of him since. So, I'm still waiting for internet. So I pray I can get through this show. But Manitoba, I'm just going to pretend I never said all that bullshit I said 5 minutes ago. I'm just going to go through it again, just in case for people who haven't saw. But if you guys are ever wondering what is going on in the Manitoba legislature, I have a couple clips for you. Because Manitoba, when our opposition is at least trying to get some answers for Manitobans on important issues that affect all of us and will affect all of our kids down the line, like issues like how much money we're borrowing, our debt, all the financials, the only thing that Kinew responds with is trans rights for kids. Not for adults, for kids. Over and over, all day yesterday, all day today, Kinew, the guy who claims that he doesn't politicize major issues, important issues, is trying to turn a quote from the opposition leader into something hateful that is by no means hateful, not even in the slightest. But the guy that claims he's not trying to be political or politicize issues, he refuses to answer any question. He just goes on and on about trans rights. Like I said, Manitoba, I'm going to show you some clips. He is trying to avoid anything to do with cost, because when his temporary break on the gas tax ends in June, he's going to have nothing, because come April, Manitoba, everything is going up. Carbon tax is going to hit Manitoba big time. And side note, just so you know, when Kinew actually could have been fighting for all of Manitobans, he chose not to. Kinew is the only premier across Canada that didn't sign on to the letter for Justin Trudeau to halt the carbon tax that's going to come April 1st. And that's no April Fool's joke, Manitoba. He is the only premier that didn't sign on to it. He just goes on about this 14 cents we save when we hit the pumps. Not everyone drives WOB, but everyone in Manitoba heats their home. This is going to cost us. This is going to hit us hard. And when the opposition is trying to find an answer, WOB's response is just about trans rights. I'm going to play you guys a clip, Manitoba. Have a listen, and this is our hard-earned tax dollars. Our hard-earned tax dollars, Manitoba, is going to this.
The question is a simple one today, Honourable Speaker. How much money has the NDP government borrowed in their first 6 months?
Simple question.
The Honourable First Minister.
We're cleaning up a significant fiscal mess that was left by the member opposite and the others who sat at the cabinet table prior to the recent election. I wonder, though, if the member opposite is going to follow his recycled questions by going out into the hallway and making more divisive comments again today. Yeah. You know that yesterday, not only did he make divisive comments about pronouns, he also told the Canadian press, and I quote here, whether it's the topic of pronouns, whether it's some other topics in the education world, end quote, that's what he means when he makes these divisive comments. So I really would like him to clarify for the people of Manitoba, what are these other topics that he's speaking of? Beyond pronouns, what does he want to put on the table in terms of dividing Manitobans? Surely he doesn't want to revisit conversations about LGBTQ kids. Surely he doesn't want to put health curricula in the conversation. So please, I would ask him to clarify his comments now.
Time has expired.
For his benefit and the benefit of all members, I would like to table the following recent orders in Council authorizing borrowing to the tune of nearly $10 billion. December, $7 billion. Mid-January, $1.5 billion. Mid-January, $500 million. Mid-January, $250 million. And in February, $700 million. For context, the NDP's borrowing exceeds what was borrowed by past governments during pandemic years and Premier Salinger's floods. Why is the NDP hiding their borrowing of almost $10 billion from Manitobans?
The Honourable First Minister.
We had to refinance the debt that was accumulated under the PCs at record amounts. Again, everyone knows that the 2020 deficit and the other pandemic deficits were among the largest ever. Those roll over. We have to refinance that. We're cleaning up the fiscal mess that they left behind. That's right. But I wonder who will clean up the mess that is being caused by the member opposite's divisive commentary. He goes out into the hallway and he makes comments dividing Manitobans one against the other. And of course, he puts the issue of pronouns on the table, but then he also says that there are some other topics in the world of education that he wants to revisit. What are those topics that he wants to revisit? Hopefully it does not include LGBT issues that were hard fought for in this chamber and across the province. Hopefully he doesn't want to revisit health curricula. Hopefully he doesn't want to put birth control on the table.
Time has expired.
Despite the Premier's fictional forecast, PC's left him with over $250 million surplus. Now, since the NDP have been in charge in October, they've borrowed nearly $10 billion. Interest, which will cost more than $500 million each and every year. Will the Premier stand up today and defend giving Manitobans a higher debt cost?
We're cleaning up the mess left by the PCs. That's right. I also want to clean up the mess caused by the PCs when they want to act like people who use different pronouns are something that our children need to be protected from. I am a parent with kids in the public school system. My colleague from Union Station, my colleague from Kirkfield Park are not people that my kids need to be protected from. In fact, if my boys grow up to show some small measure of the courage, integrity, and grace of my colleagues, I will die a happy man knowing that my work as a father was successful. We are going to continue calling this out each and every single day because the real thing that kids in Manitoba need to be protected from is hatred and bigotry.
All right, so $10 billion, that's something that's going to affect all of our kids, not the 0.0000001% that might be trans. And this is not even about trans rights. This is about trans rights for kids. And they just call it trans rights. It's about keeping parents in the dark. All of this, all of Wab Kinew's outbursts, and I'm going to play more because he's been going on about this all day today, all day yesterday, would not answer any questions. Any question would just be about, any answer, regardless of the question, would just be about trans rights. But here is, here's what it's all been about. Manitoba's school kids should need parental consent to change pronouns, says interim PC leader. That's what all this is about. He's trying to make it seem so hateful. But the interim leader just wants parents to give their consent for minors to change pronouns, change names. You know what I mean? Change genders. And I want to really point out real fast from CBC News, this is how they want to trick you, because they know a lot of people aren't going to actually read the whole article. They're going to read the headline. Wayne Iwasco apologizes after Premier characterizes comments as transphobic. Real fast, Manitoba, he did not apologize for his comments. He apologized for if any people out there took his comments wrong. Okay, he's not apologizing for what he's saying. He just doesn't want people to take it how the Premier is trying to make it sound like he meant it, which is obvious to anyone who reads it. But I'm going to read it for you real fast from CBC News. The interim leader of Manitoba's Progressive Conservative Party says parents should provide informed consent to let their children change their preferred gender pronouns in school. Iwasco told reporters after Tuesday's question period that parents deserve to be notified of anything happening with their children in school. Quote, and if we're talking about pronouns, absolutely. I think parents and guardians definitely should be informed, Iwasco said. We get parental consent when students are 14 to 18 to go on ski trips, so I don't think informing and consenting is too far from that. In an interview with the Globe and Mail published Tuesday, Iwasco said he wants parents to take part in, quote, what is happening to their children in classrooms. However, he did not answer questions about whether he wants to follow the footsteps of provinces, including Alberta, Saskatchewan, and New Brunswick, that limit schools from teaching kids about gender and sexuality or use their preferred pronouns without parental consent. Real fast, Manitoba, I really hope Manitoba does follow in the footsteps of these provinces, because, like, what parent is saying that we should be left in the dark and teachers should have more rights and responsibilities than the parents? This is what they actually argue about in the House of Commons. I'll go on, though. Manitoba needs to put an exclamation mark on the issue of parental involvement, Iwasco told the newspaper, adding that sometimes the students' thoughts about how their parents or guardians are going to react to their LGBTQ plus identity were different than what actually reality was, end quote, which is obvious. I mean, kids that age will put a lot on their shoulders, and they're going to think that their parents won't be as accepting, as all teenagers do when they do something outside the norm. They're worried about how their parents are going to think. It doesn't mean that it should be kept a secret. Like, what are they talking about? Excuse me, but I'm going to continue. In Tuesday's question period, Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew said Iwaski's comments to the Globe and Mail are concerning and asked him to clarify, saying, quote, trans children are not safe with him in the political sphere, end quote. Can you believe that, Manitoba? For him saying parents shouldn't be left in the dark, our premier is saying that kids are not safe with him in the political sphere. And this is the guy that says that he doesn't politicize important issues. I'll read on. Iwasco did not speak about the article during question period. He later told reporters that he had not read it at that point. Kinew accused Iwasco of reviving rhetoric that the PCs hinted at in the last election when the NDP swept to power after 7 years of Tory rule. Quote, the hateful campaign that the PCs ran in 2023 relied on transphobic sentiment, and the PC party leader of the day is hoping to put an exclamation mark on his remarks now, Kinew said during question period. Real fast, Manitoba, the PCs did not run a hate-filled campaign in 2023. Again, this is coming from the guy who says he's not going to politicize important issues. Quote, this sort of division, I think, was rejected in the election by Manitobans, and it's disappointed that the message hasn't been received by the PC's interim leader, end quote. Real fast, Manitoba, I'm going to show you a poll that was conducted across the country among all Canadians from all provinces. The majority do not agree with Wab Kinew, thank God. So I don't think NDP has got the message. I don't think Manitobans have voiced their opinion loud enough yet. I'm going to show you Manitoba specific too. In the campaign leading up to last October's election, the PC made parental rights in education part of their platform, but the promise was vaguely worded and focused on issues such as parental knowledge of the curriculum and presentations from outside groups. At the same time, some other provinces were coming up with specific policies on names and pronouns. Saskatchewan and New Brunswick brought in rules last year requiring consent for students 16 and under to change their names or pronouns at school. How is this like even an issue of contention for students 16 and under, and NDP wants to keep parents in the dark? But they can't do drugs, they can't drink, they can't drive, they can't have sex, but yet the NDP thinks that they could change their pronoun or change their name. This is unreal, Manitoba, and we are stuck 3.5 more years with them. Lawyers for Your Pride, a Regina LGBTQ organization, argued Saskatchewan's policy violates charter rights and can cause teachers to out or misgender children. The Saskatchewan Party government invoked the notwithstanding clause to override sections of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and Saskatchewan's Human Rights Code. Alberta announced changes more recently that included parental consent for students 15 and under who want to change their names or pronouns at school. Students 16 and 17 would not need consent, but their parents must be notified. Iwasco later said he takes issue with the Premier's interpretation of the article, but not the article itself. Quote, if anyone out there who has read the article and came up with the same conclusion that the Premier has come up with today, I strongly apologize, end quote. He says parents, quote, definitely should be informed on anything that is happening in the educational world, which is what his exclamation mark comments was in reference to. Iwasco was chosen as his party's temporary leader after former leader Heather Stephenson stepped down in January. He will serve until a party leadership convention expected this autumn. So Manitoba, I know it's mind-blowing. So this is literally what he's been going on for days. And the comments are so minor. I'm going to play you another video really fast of, again, Manitoba, your hard-earned dollars. And if you want any sort of answers, this is the kind of response you get.
On this, it is clear this NDP government has no plan to make life more affordable for Manitobans. We just heard the Premier, he has no plan, other than taking credit for what previous PC government had did with tax savings. Everyone in Manitoba was happy to see the ads, but little did they know it was the previous PCs, not the NDP. This minister and his entire team voted against our PC tax cuts. It takes a lot of courage to admit you were wrong. Will the minister stand up today and say he was wrong for voting against the tax cuts that make life more affordable for Manitobans?
Right. We're advertising our tax cuts. The team that's figuring out how to pay for these things. Let's talk from the post aisle, from this the person who brought this out in here. I invite the member opposite to explain to the people of Manitoba why he wants to put on the table for discussion division and hatred, rather than bringing people together to do things like fixing healthcare or making life more affordable. Can he please clarify his thoughts on trans children and their rights in our schools today?
Speaker, to be clear now, that's 4 questions on the province's finances and 0 answers from this Premier. Will this Minister of Finance and Premier do the right thing, stand up for Manitobans, and send a letter? And just for the record, I'll table this so they can copy another document.
The Honourable First Minister.
Standing up for the people of Manitoba is something that we do each and every day. Here. That's right. That's right. That's right. The letter to ask for Manitoba's share of the $144 million has already been sent. Right. Because again, on this side of the House, we put the work in first, and we put out the press releases later, unlike the member opposite. But when we're talking about publicity, I do have to call the member out for the ads that he was the poster boy for that were very divisive, that were very harmful to people in Manitoba. There was a lot of dust kicked up during the election, and then, poof, after October 3rd, the issue disappeared. It seems that it was very craven, it was very divisive, it was very calculated. But I'll give the member opposite the opportunity to clarify his views today. Does he support the rights of trans children in Manitoba?
No, Speaker, I know the Premier's new in his role. He doesn't understand how question period works. That's 5 questions now on finances and 0 answers from this Premier. This government has been flip-flopping like a pickerel on a dock since they took office. When they debated the budget last year, tax cuts were evil, and now they voted for them. Suddenly, this minister has seen the error in his ways. Now, Liberal Premier of Newfoundland, Andrew Feary, has joined the call of 6 other premiers across Canada and across party lines to make life more affordable for their provinces. When will the Minister of Finance, I guess the Premier, since the Premier won't let the Minister of Finance speak, stand up, do the right thing, and stand on the side of Manitobans to make life more affordable?
That's right.
The Honourable First Minister.
One of our first actions was to take the 14 cents a litre fuel tax off of Manitobans' backs. That's something that the member opposite charged every single day when he served in the provincial government. But in his desperate bid to try and hang on to power, he was the face of very divisive ads, which we know targeted trans youth in our province. Now we hear that he's entertaining thoughts of running for leader. I wonder how he's going to talk to Pride Winnipeg when he begs for the right to be able to march in the parade this year. He's going to be hemming and hawing and, oh, you got to understand what the campaigns are like and what the party asked of me. Please, please, please let me march. No. On this side, moral clarity. We support young people no matter how they choose to identify, and we know that they deserve to be safe, and we will stand up against the bullies every time they want to engage on this topic.
That's our premier, acting like a complete dipshit. Like, answer the question. I know it's called question period and not answer period, but I mean, fuck, come on. And just in case you guys didn't pick that up, every premier wants Justin Trudeau to halt the carbon tax that's going to hit us April 1st, except WAB. And he wants to act like he's for the people. He's going on and on and on about an issue that affects, what, 0.000001% of Manitobans? Like, I'm going to show you what Canadians actually think. Let me just pull it up here, Manitoba. I apologize. Give me 1 sec.
The poll for CTV News by Nanos Research reveals what Canadians think about policies on transgender inclusion in sports, hormone treatments for youth, and pronouns. Here's CTV's Alison Bamford.
A hot button issue across Canada. Trans advocates and parents both fighting for rights when it comes to students and gender identity in the classroom.
We all can agree that the majority of Canadians want what's best for young people.
A new Nanos poll offers a snapshot of how the public views policies related to gender identity. 64% of respondents say they're uncomfortable with the idea of a student under 18 changing their name or pronouns without parental consent.
The majority.
While 62% show at least some discomfort with kids under 18 using hormone therapies for the purpose of changing their gender.
I am confident that Albertans do not want children to make irreversible decisions.
Something Alberta's recently proposed policy addresses, placing a ban on hormone therapy.
Pause that process to allow young people.
64% of respondents say they're uncomfortable with the idea of a student under 18 changing their name or pronouns without parental consent, while 62% show at least some discomfort with kids under 18 using hormone therapies for the purpose of changing their gender.
I am confident that Albertans do not want children to make irreversible decisions.
Something Alberta's recently proposed policy addresses, placing a ban on hormone therapy for anyone under the age of 15.
Puberty brings about permanent changes, and puberty blockers pause that process to allow young people a little bit more time to be certain of who they are.
Trans advocates believe a lot of the public discomfort boils down to a lack of education. Polling shows 57% are uncomfortable with a trans person playing sports against their same gender identity, while another 44% feel the same about trans people using the washroom designated for their gender.
The reality right now is that trans folks are actually a lot more at risk in spaces like washrooms or change rooms than their cisgender counterparts.
Many of these issues will be addressed within government and the courts. There's an ongoing legal battle against Saskatchewan's pronoun legislation, and the same lawyers pledge to fight Alberta's trans policies once they're introduced. Alison Bamford, CTV News, Regina.
Yeah, so that's insane. So Where am I at here?
Don't take the risk on.
A new survey from Nanos Research and CTV News shows a majority of Canadian adults expressed at least some discomfort around policies on transgender inclusion in sports, hormone treatment for youth, and changes to students' pronouns in schools. Like that is so obvious. I don't understand how this is even a contentious issue in Manitoba. In a press conference in late February, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre said female spaces should be exclusively for females, not for biological males, end quote. A comment that drew criticism from transgender former Conservative candidate Hannah Hodson, who said it was very unfortunate to see. Quote, what he has said today just further extends the idea that trans people are predators, she said in an interview. See, that's the problem. Every time you have a disagreement with this Manitoba, they say that you're hateful or you're phobic or you're a predator. Like, it is insane. But let's take a look at what actually Manitobans think, okay? Mr. Wob Kinew, who claims that the PCs didn't get the message. So here's just across Canada, a transgender person using the washroom or change rooms for people with their current gender identity. Okay, so a little bit more are comfortable with that one. A transgender person taking part in organized sports for people of their current gender identity. Okay, I hate how, like, look at this. They don't even include, they do include that percentage. Schools not notifying parents when their child wants to go by a new preferred name or pronoun. I mean, that's a big one, 64%. But who cares about that? Let's find out specifically Manitoba. And it doesn't actually go Manitoba, it goes prairies, which I guess is Manitoba, Saskatchewan. And Alberta, I guess, is included in this. Okay, well, let's find out. Comfort with the transgender people using washrooms or change rooms for people of their current gender identity. Not comfortable or somewhat not comfortable. 45% not comfortable, 55% somewhat not comfortable. Okay. Comfort with the transgender people taking part in organized sports for people of their current gender identity. 58% not comfortable and 67% somewhat not comfortable versus 34% comfortable and 30% somewhat comfortable. So Manitoba is speaking loud and clear. They do not want transgender, like the opposite gender, to play in sports. That one is loud and clear. Allowing individuals under 18 years of age to have hormone therapy, such as medication that delays the sexual development changes of puberty or help develop sex characteristics. 64% not comfortable. 66% somewhat not comfortable versus 29% comfortable or 30% somewhat comfortable. Once again, Manitoba is loud and clear. They do not want trans rights. Okay, Wob Kinew? I don't think NDP is getting the message. Schools not notifying parents when their child wants to go by a new preferred name or pronoun. 63.4% not comfortable. 62.9% somewhat not comfortable. Again, versus 33.7% comfortable and 34.6% somewhat comfortable. Again, Manitoba has spoken loud and clear on these issues. So I don't even know what Wob is talking about, Manitoba, when he's claiming that the PCs didn't get the message. It seems like they are the ones that didn't get the message. At least in the prairie provinces, we're very loud on this. We want, as parents, to be informed, which I don't even understand how that's a contentious issue, but either way, in Manitoba, it is. So with all this said, Manitoba, with our government trying to butt in our child-rearing decisions, and when they can't, the NDP wants to put a teacher in as a wedge in between parents and teachers. With all this, this is still what they want to do. Manitoba needs to lower mandatory school age to 6 from 7, Education Minister says. In what world would any Manitoban want to indoctrinate their child a year earlier with all this fucking insanity going on. I mean, God bless the people that homeschool. I highly recommend looking into that. I already sent my kid through the indoctrination program, and she came out good, so I'm happy. She had 2 parents that weren't fucking loopy. Well, I'm a crazy person, I'll admit that, but about the important stuff, I'm on board. Manitoba wants to lower the age that children must attend school and also allow them to go to school outside the neighborhood where the parents or guardians live. That part is a good thing. But I mean, lowering the age, I don't see why. Bill 21 of the Public Schools Amendment Act would lower the compulsory school age to 6 years from 7 and extend the right to attend school to 5 years old from 6, the province said in a Wednesday news release. Education Minister Nello Altomayor says the changes are necessary and would modernize current provincial rules while bringing Manitoba in line with the rest of Canada. Quote, it reflects the reality of what's happening now in our schools. Real fast, Manitoba, do you understand? I mean, if you guys are parents, you'll get this, but how many days that kids miss in a school year? They could probably save going to school a year earlier if they just went to school every day. It is mind-blowing the amount of days off kids have now. School is important for kids. They need to be there. They need to be there with their peers to become part of the community and become something bigger than themselves. We want to make sure they have that opportunity, end quote. That is NDP in a nutshell. They want to indoctrinate your kids. They do not want you as parents teaching your kids morals. Altomare did not answer a question about whether attendance issues at Manitoba Public Schools sparked the change. He said it would be up to the school divisions to enforce it. The amendments would also make sure children who live with a responsible adult can attend the school in the neighborhood where they reside, even if legal guardianship has not been transferred, the province's release says. Under current rules, children have to attend the school in the area where their parents or guardians live, which can create challenges for students who have different arrangements of care. With families that are accepting kids into their homes, sometimes they have to provide proof of residence right now that they're actually going to be there permanently, Altomare said. Quote, if that kid is staying with a family member, whatever their address is, it is in the catchment area, then they can attend that school, end quote. The legislation would allow temporary students to send their children to the public school in that neighborhood. Okay, so I mean, I agree with kids being able to go to any school, but I do not agree with sending kids to school a year earlier. That is insane to me. But either way, Manitoba, I apologize for the misstart earlier. Once again, I have technical issues. It seems to be a every show thing. But in case you guys missed it, Manitoba Freethinker podcast, The Big Ask. I'm not sure where you guys are watching, but the big ask would be go to Rumble, watch on Rumble. I am fighting that Facebook ban. It's inevitable. This is a live show Tuesday and Thursday, 9 o'clock. So I sometimes go live on Saturday, but I definitely Tuesday, Thursday, 9 o'clock. So bear with me if there's any mistakes or I stumble my words. But again, I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I love you guys, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.